Chapter 2, Puritan Power. Hi, I'm Mr. Barnes. Okay, so by now, hopefully you're saying, wow, this really isn't like the history books I'm used to. And if you aren't saying that, well, you're a liar. And guess what? You wouldn't be the first. After Gomes, Ian's, D. Zarura's ridiculously money-grabbing lie, there were other European racist theorists who followed suit, using his text as a jumping-off point for their own concepts and racist ideas to justify the enslavement of Africans. Because if there's one thing we all know about humans, is that most of us are followers, looking for something to be a part of, to make us feel better about our own selflessness. Or is that just me? Just me. Got it. Anyway, the followers came sniffing around, drumming up their own cockamamie, best word ever, even better than Zarura, though possibly a synonym, theories, two of which would set the table for the conversation around racism for centuries to come. Those theories were, number one, climate theory. This actually came from Aristotle. We'll get back to him a little bit later, who questioned whether Africans were born this way or if the heat of the continent made them inferior. What? Many agreed it was climate, and that if African people lived in cooler temperatures, they would in fact become white. And two, curse theory. In 1577, after noticing that the Inuit people in northeastern freezing cold Canada were darker than the people living in the hotter south, English travel writer George Best determined conveniently for all parties interested in owning slaves that it couldn't have been climate that made darker people inferior. Instead, he determined that Africans were in fact cursed. First of all, could you imagine someone on the Travel Channel telling you that you were cursed? Like really? And what did Best use to prove his theory? Only one of the most irrefutable books of all time, the Bible. In Best's whimsical interpretation of the book of Genesis, God wills that Ham's descendants will be dark and disgusting, and the whole world will look at them as symbols of trouble. Simply put, Ham's kids will be black and bad. Ultimately being black was bad. Curse theory will become the anchor of what will be justify American slavery. It will branch off into another ridiculous idea. The strange concept that because Africans were cursed and because, according to these Europeans, they needed enslavement in order to be saved and civilized, the relationship between slave and master was nothing but loving. That is, was more like a parent and a child, or a minister and a member, a mentor and a mentee. They were painting a compassionate picture about what was certainly a terrible experience because, well, human beings were being forced into servitude, and there's no way to spin that into one big, happy family. But the literature said otherwise. That's right. There was another piece of literature, and this one was written by a man named William Perkins, called Ordering a Family, published in 1590, in which he argued that the slave was just part of a loving family unit that was ordered a particular way, and that the souls and the potential of the souls were equal, but not the skin. It's like saying, I look at my dog like I look at my children, even though I've trained my dog to fetch my paper by beating it and yanking his leash. But the idea of it all let the new enslavers off the emotional hook and betrayed them as a benevolent do-gooders cleaning up the Africans.